Marketing ethics is a dimension of social responsibility. Marketing ethics involves making decisions about how we ought to act. It's an attempt to understand moral obligations that define right and wrong. Ethics is not a precise science that tells us exactly what decision to make. Ethical dilemmas with moral uncertainty occur because there may be no specific convincing answers to some ethical questions. In the face of moral uncertainty, you may not be sure what the right course of action would be. When marketing decisions are inconsistent with accepted standards, the exchange process can break down, resulting in consumer dissatisfaction. There are three broad frameworks of ethical theory: consequentialist, duty, and virtue. Consequentialist theory focuses on the consequences of an ethical decision. One example of the consequentialist approach to ethics is utilitarian theory. Under this theory, a decision is good if it creates more benefit than harm to the firm's stakeholders, and it's bad if it creates more harm than benefits. This principle recognizes that some decisions create both good and harm. This is a type of ethical cost-benefit analysis. A second example of consequentialist theory is egoistic theory. This is the ethics of self-interest. It's based on the greatest amount of good and the least amount of harm for yourself. Ayn Rand, the author of Atlas Shrugged, was famous for having this ethical belief. A third view of consequentialist theory is the common good theory. In this view, you should try to contribute the greatest good for the general welfare of society. This emphasizes the networked aspect of society and compassion for the most vulnerable. The duty theory of ethics uses a set of rules that define ethical behavior regardless of the consequences. The Ten Commandments is an example of duty theory. Here's some other examples. Do the right thing. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Don't do wrong things. Avoid them because they're wrong. According to duty theory, ethical obligations are the same for everyone. They're universal. Some other examples of duty theory ethics are this: it's wrong to kill innocent people. It's wrong to steal. It's wrong to tell lies. It's right to keep promises. All people have a right to dignity. All people should be treated alike, and improve the conditions of the least advantaged. The virtue theory of ethics is that action should be consistent with ideal human values. It's concerned with the whole of a person's life. This character-centered approach to ethics believes that we develop virtue through practice. By practicing being truthful and brave and generous, people develop honorable and moral characteristics. By developing righteous habits, people will likely make the right choice when they encounter ethical questions. We learn that it's virtuous to take care of our children, and we learn that it's bad to consider premeditated murder. We learn that some decisions don't have ethical implications. They're ethically neutral. For example, the decision to eat chocolate ice cream versus vanilla. And we learn that it's extremely virtuous to risk your life to save someone from a burning building. Three factors that influence the ethical decision-making process in organizations are individual factors, opportunity, and organizational relationships. Next, we take a little bit more detailed view of those three factors. The individual factors include personal values developed over a lifetime. It's your sense of right and wrong. Concepts from duty theory and the virtue theory of ethics. Things you probably learned from your parents. Maybe your religious experiences or your school experiences. When we hire people, we're hiring their ethical values, and these values influence their ethical decision making. The organizational relationships recognize the fact that many ethical decisions are not entirely made by individuals acting alone, but they're made by two or more people in concert with one another. Peer pressure exerts a strong influence, and the organizational culture creates norms that influence decisions. If you're surrounded by people acting unethically, you'll be tempted to bend the rules yourself. Opportunity to act unethically refers to barriers to unethical behavior, or unwritten rewards for unethical behavior. If unethical behavior is unpunished or undetected, this creates a culture that encourages even more unethical behavior. Therefore, it's important to have controls in place to discourage unethical behavior. For example, if you're a sales rep and you entertain your customers, for example at lunch or dinner, it's normal for your expenses to be reimbursed. If your employee does not require receipts from the restaurant and simply trusts you to be honest with your expense report, this creates an opportunity for unethical behavior. If your fellow sales reps all tell you they routinely pad their expense reports at least 50%, that adds peer pressure and a culture that encourages unethical decisions. Don't create this kind of culture. Trust but verify with receipts and act decisively if unethical behavior occurs. You cannot absolutely control what all your employees do, but you can have a big impact on ethical conduct. When you create a good ethical climate and tell job applicants about your ethical standards, you discourage workers who have unethical tendencies. Eliminate unethical employees. Some people act unethically despite the efforts by companies to encourage ethical behavior. It's important to develop clear, uniform standards because sometimes it's hard to know exactly what's ethical. If management develops and enforces ethical and legal compliance programs, it helps individuals make better decisions and it helps build ethical organizational culture. That's a look at marketing ethics. Thanks for watching.